Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. US Army helicopters crash in Alaska, killing 3 soldiers. Biden commutes sentences of 31 convicted of drug crimes. New York City Council organizes Eid-ul-Fitr celebration program for the first time in US history. Former US Vice President Pence testifies before grand jury. Bill allows DeSantis to run for president while governor. Colorado governor signs 4 gun control bills after massacre. South Korea's Yoon visits Massachusetts State House in Boston. Largest powwow draws indigenous dancers to New Mexico. Ed Sheeran on guitar gets musical with a New York jury. Cardin addresses divided America in final Late Late Show. Russian missile and drone attack in Ukraine kills 23 people. BBC chief quits amid furor over role in Boris Johnson loan. China's Mars rover finds signs of recent water in sand dunes. NATO says Ukraine allies sent 1,550 combat vehicles, 230 tanks. NFL draft dominated early by QBs, including top pick Young. And Durant signs lifetime deal with Nike, joining Jordan, LeBron. You are listening to Headlines Now News in detail. 2 US Army helicopters collided and crashed in Alaska while returning from a training flight, killing 3 soldiers and injuring a 4th. 2 of the soldiers died at the scene of the crash near Healy, Alaska, and a 3rd died on the way to a hospital in Fairbanks, the Army said in a statement on Thursday. The injured soldier was being treated at a hospital. Each AH-64 Apache helicopter was carrying 2 people at the time of the crash, said John Pennell, a spokesperson for the U.S. Army Alaska. The helicopters were from the 1st Attack Battalion, 25th Aviation Regiment at Fort Wainwright, based near Fairbanks. This is an incredible loss for these soldiers' families, their fellow soldiers, and for the division, Major General Brian Eifler, Commanding General of the 11th Airborne Division, said in a statement. The Army said the cause of the crash was under investigation and more details would be released when they become available. This is the second accident involving military helicopters in Alaska this year. President Joe Biden has commuted the sentences of 31 people convicted of non-violent drug crimes who were serving time in home confinement, the White House announced Friday. Many would have gotten a lower sentence if they were charged today with the same offense because of changes in the laws. A commuted sentence means they will spend less time in home confinement. The commutations came as the White House announced a set of policy actions across 20 different agencies meant to improve the criminal justice system, which disproportionately affects black and other non-white communities. The president announced his re-election campaign this week and must keep black voters in his coalition if he wants to win in 2024. The plan is an effort to expand healthcare access, affordable housing, and education, and make it easier for those who have been mixed up in the system to get jobs, higher education, and vote. The effort includes a plan to make more grants available for people who need funding for education and small business loans. Roughly 600,000 US residents leave prison each year, and another 9 million cycle in and out of jail. As many as 1 in 3 Americans has a criminal record. That stigma can make it hard to get a job, go back to school, or start a business. For the first time in US history, an Eid al-Fitr celebration program was held in Council Chambers City Hall, New York on April 25 to celebrate the holy Eid al-Fitr, one of the main festivals of Muslim community. The program was organized by the New York City Council. The program started with the national anthem of the United States of America after Council member Shahana Hanif gave an opening remark. New York City Council Speaker Adrian E. Adams with Council member Shahana Hanif, Stevens, Amanda Farias, Tiffany Caban, Natasha Williams, Sandy Nurse, and Alexa Aviles welcomed everybody at the celebration. City Council Speaker Adrian E. Adams gave an welcome remarks on behalf of all council members. The program was held to celebrate the joy of Eid al-Fitr and to highlight the significance of Eid.
This house in the chambers where we discuss and debate things that impact everyday New Yorkers. So Eid Mubarak to everyone. As Councilmember Hanif noted, I represent District 38, South Brooklyn, which includes Sunset Park and Red Hook, a beautiful, vibrant community, Muslim community, a diverse community with long history in the neighborhood. And I'm also going to claim parts of Bay Ridge, since most of our community has moved south to Bay Ridge. Yes.
Eid celebrations happens here at City Hall. Keep watching Millennium TV 24 News. Again, I'm with you, Ahmed Ali.
Former United States Vice President Mike Pence has testified before a federal grand jury investing efforts by then-President Donald Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. A person familiar with the matter told the Associated Press. The person requested anonymity to discuss the private appearance before the grand jury. Pence's appearance in Washington, D.C., scrutinizing the president he once loyally served, is a milestone in the U.S. Department of Justice's investigation. It likely gives prosecutors a key first-person account of certain conversations and events in the weeks preceding the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. It also carries significant political implications, coming as Pence hints at entering the 2024 presidential race with a potential run against Trump, the Republican front-runner. The testimony came hours after a federal appeals court in a sealed order rejected a bid by Trump's lawyers to block Pence's appearance. Pence was subpoenaed to testify earlier this year, but Trump's lawyers objected, citing executive privilege concerns. Republican Ron DeSantis would not have to resign as Florida governor in order to run for president if he chooses under a bill given final approval Friday by the GOP-dominated state legislature. The measure, attached to a much broader elections bill, would carve out an exemption to Florida law requiring anyone seeking office to resign from one they already hold after qualifying as a candidate. Only an office holder running for US president or vice president would not have to resign. Supporters portrayed the bill as purely a clarification and not intended specifically for DeSantis, who has not yet announced a presidential bid but is widely expected to declare his candidacy for the Republican nomination in the coming weeks. The bill passed the State House 76-34 along party lines and now goes to DeSantis, who is expected to sign it into law. It is an individual office that is unique. It is the chief executive of our country, GOP Representative Ralph Massullo said during House debate Friday. This isn't just for our governor, it's for anyone in politics. Democrats called the effort a cynical attempt to clear the way for DeSantis to run while remaining as governor. His current term in Tallahassee would end in January 2027. Colorado's governor signed 4 gun control bills Friday, following the lead of other states struggling to confront a nationwide surge in violent crime and mass shootings, despite a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling that expanded Second Amendment rights. Before the ink was even dry on Governor Jared Polis's signature, gun rights groups sued to reverse 2 of the measures, raising the buying age for any gun from 18 to 21. And establishing a 3-day waiting period between the purchase and receipt of a gun. The courts are already weighing lawsuits over such restrictions in other states. The new laws, which Democrats pushed through despite late-night filibusters from Republicans, are aimed at quelling rising suicides and youth violence, preventing mass shootings, and opening avenues for gun violence victims to sue the long-protected firearm industry. They were enacted just 5 months after a mass shooting at an LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol on Friday stopped at the Massachusetts State House ahead of a talk at Harvard University as he wrapped up a state visit to the United States. Yoon was greeted on the steps of the historic gold-domed building in Boston just after noon by Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. The two walked up the red-carpeted steps and into the front door of the state capitol, while the flag of South Korea fluttered in the breeze on one side of the building's front lawn. Hong Do-jung, a public sector worker from Worcester, stood across from the State House with several others protesting what he said was the South Korean president's stance on unions. Hong could be heard yelling repeatedly, "Strikebreaker, boo," as the president ascended the stairs with Healey. Yoon and Healey then sat down for a private lunch. Later in the day, Yoon delivered a speech on the challenges to freedom and the response to them at the Harvard Kennedy School in Cambridge. The stops in Boston and Cambridge came after Yoon visited Washington. Tens of thousands of people are gathering in New Mexico for what organizers bill as the largest powwow in North America. The annual Gathering of Nations kicks off Friday with a colorful procession of Native American and indigenous dancers from around the world moving to the beat of traditional drums as they fill an arena at the New Mexico State Fairgrounds. The dancers slowly spiral their way, one by one, toward the center of the venue, making for a spectacular display. This marks the 40th year for the gathering, which has grown from humble beginnings in 1983 into a massive celebration with indigenous people showcasing their cultures through dancing and singing competitions. Spectators get a chance to see the competitors' feathered bustles, buckskin dresses, fancy shawls, and beaded head and hair pieces. Many of the dancers' elaborate outfits are detailed with hand-stitched designs. Most dancers at the Gathering of Nations compete for prize money. More than 2 dozen contestants from the US and Canada also are vying for the title of Miss Indian World. The winner will be crowned on the final night of the powwow and will spend the next year serving as a cultural ambassador as she travels to events at other powwows. Several hundred Native American tribes in the United States and First Nations in Canada are represented at the gathering, which has become Albuquerque's second largest annual festival and brings in more than $20 million for the local economy each year. In a packed New York courtroom, Ed Sheeran picked up his guitar Thursday. and launched into a tune that has him locked in a copyright dispute over Marvin Gaye's soul classic Let's Get It On. As the only audience that mattered, a jury looked on. Sheeran was an hour into testimony in Manhattan Federal Court when his lawyer, Elaine Farkas, pressed him to tell how he came to write Thinking Out Loud a decade ago. He reached back, grabbed his guitar from a rack behind the witness stand, and explained that writing a song was second nature to him. He said he used his own version of phonetics to create songs so quickly that he could write up to 9 in a day. Even last weekend, Sheeran claimed he wrote 10 songs. Then he sang just a few words of the pivotal tune, bringing smiles to the faces of some of the spectators in the courtroom of Judge Louis L. Stanton. "I'm singing out loud," he sang, loud enough to be heard but not raising decibels in the court. After he finished singing those words, he spoke a few too, saying, "and then words fall in," as he tried to teach the jury his method of creating music. He said he collaborated on the song with a co-writer, Amy Wedge, who wrote the opening chords. James Corden used part of his farewell speech on Thursday's final episode of CBS The Late Late Show to address the deep rift in America over hot-button issues, including politics and ideology. "We started this show with Obama, then Trump, and a global pandemic. I have watched America change a lot. I have watched divisions grow, and I have felt a sense of negativity boil over," said the host. He implored his audience to remember what America signifies to the rest of the world. "My entire life, it has always been a place of optimism. Yes, it has flaws, but show me a place that doesn't. Show me a person that doesn't. Just because somebody disagrees with you, it doesn't make them bad or evil. We are all more the same than we are different. There are so many people who are trying to stoke those differences, and we have to try as best we can to look for the light, look for the joy. If you do, it's out there. That's all this show has ever been about," he said. Corden announced 1 year ago that he would be ending his late-night show after 8 seasons, citing a desire to return to his native UK to be closer to family and loved ones. Also Thursday, CBS aired a primetime special called The Last Late Late Show Special, featuring taped segments with Tom Cruise and Adele, where they taped a final carpool karaoke segment. Corden reminded the singer that she has an Emmy, Grammy, and Oscar and wondered if she would ever actively pursue a Tony Award. "You have the ego," he said. Now it's time for global updates. Russia fired more than 20 cruise missiles and 2 drones at Ukraine early Friday, killing at least 23 people, almost all of them when 2 missiles slammed into an apartment building in a terrifying nighttime attack, officials said. 3 children were among the dead. The missile attacks included the first one against Kiev, Ukraine's capital, in nearly 2 months, although there were no reports of any targets hit. The city government said Ukraine's Air Force intercepted 11 cruise missiles and 2 unmanned aerial vehicles over Kiev. The strikes on the 9-story residential building in central Ukraine occurred in Uman, a city located around 215 kilometers south of Kiev. 21 people died in that attack, according to Ukraine's national police. They included 2 10-year-old children and a toddler. Another of the victims was a 75-year-old woman who lived in a neighboring building and suffered internal bleeding from the huge blast shockwave, according to emergency personnel at the scene. The Ukrainian National Police said 17 people were wounded and 3 children were rescued from the rubble. 9 were hospitalized. The chairman of the BBC quit Friday after a report found that he failed to disclose a potential conflict of interest over his role in arranging a loan more than 2 years ago for Boris Johnson, as scandals from the former Prime Minister's turbulent term continue to rattle UK public life. The publicly funded national broadcaster has been under political pressure after it was revealed that Richard Sharp helped arrange the line of credit weeks before he was appointed to the BBC post on the government's recommendation. The guarantor for the £800,000 line of credit was businessman Sam Blythe, a distant cousin of Johnson's who founded a chain of private schools in Canada. The deal was facilitated by Sharp, a former Goldman Sachs banker and Conservative Party donor, who arranged a meeting between Blythe and the UK's top civil servant to discuss Blythe's offer of financial help. It's unclear who actually loaned the money. Johnson was then Conservative Party leader as well as British Prime Minister. A report on the episode by senior lawyer Adam Heppenstall published Friday found Sharp failed to disclose potential perceived conflicts of interest. The report found Sharp did not reveal his role in the loan guarantee to the BBC appointments panel before he was appointed chairman in early 2021. Water may be more widespread and recent on Mars than previously thought, based on observations of Martian sand dunes by China's rover. The finding highlights new potentially fertile areas in the warmer regions of Mars where conditions might be suitable for life to exist, though more study is needed. Friday's news comes days after mission leaders acknowledged that the Zhurong rover has yet to wake up since going into hibernation for the Martian winter nearly a year ago. Its solar panels are likely covered with dust, choking off its power source and possibly preventing the rover from operating again, said Zhang Rongqiu, the mission's chief designer. Before Zhurong fell silent, it observed salt-rich dunes with cracks and crusts, which researchers said likely were mixed with melting morning frost or snow as recently as a few 100,000 years ago. Their estimated date range for when the cracks and other dune features formed in Mars Utopia Planitia, a vast plain in the northern hemisphere, sometime after 1.4 million to 400,000 years ago or even younger. Conditions during that period were similar to now on Mars, with rivers and lakes dried up and no longer flowing as they did billions of years earlier. NATO allies and partner countries have delivered more than 98% of the combat vehicles promised to Ukraine during Russia's invasion and war, the military alliance's chief said Thursday, giving Kiev a bigger punch as it contemplates launching a counter-offensive. Along with more than 1,550 armored vehicles, 230 tanks, and other equipment, Ukraine's allies have sent vast amounts of ammunition and also trained and equipped more than 9 new Ukrainian brigades, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said. More than 30,000 troops are estimated to make up the new brigades. Some NATO partner countries, such as Sweden and Australia, have also provided armored vehicles. This will put Ukraine in a strong position to continue to retake occupied territory, Stoltenberg told reporters in Brussels. His comments came a day after Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said he and Chinese leader Xi Jinping held a long and meaningful phone call in their first known contact since Russia's full-scale invasion more than a year ago. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,545.88. The NYSE Composite is increased by 114.24 points or 0.74%. Tokyo stock close price is 28,856.44. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 398.76 points or 1.40%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,323.2746. The Shanghai index is increased by 37.39 points or 1.14%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,894.57. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 54.29 points or 0.27%. Bombay stock close price is 61,112.44. The Sensex index is increased by 463.06 points or 0.76%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Finding a franchise quarterback is the quickest path to success, so it's no surprise teams made them a priority in the NFL draft. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson were among the top 4 picks Thursday night, an expected result in a rich draft class that's been anticipated since last year. The surprise in the first round was that Will Levis didn't hear his name called. Young, the slender and dynamic Alabama quarterback, went number 1 to the Carolina Panthers 7 weeks after the team made a blockbuster trade with Chicago to move up to get their choice. Kevin Durant and Nike have agreed to a lifetime contract, making him just the third NBA player to receive such a deal. Joining Michael Jordan and LeBron James, the 13-time All-Star has a relationship with Nike that dates back to 2007, releasing 15 different sets of shoes. A 16th is coming soon. When I first signed with Nike, I couldn't have dreamed of how far we would go in this partnership, Durant said in a statement posted on Boardroom, a media company he co-founded. We have done amazing work creatively and philanthropically. We have traveled the world together and built a business that will now last forever. I'm excited for the future and honored to be in rare company with this deal. The lifetime deal will continue to include shoes and other apparel, along with other community and philanthropic collaboration focused on grassroots basketball. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network, and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.